It started with good news. My landlord emailed me on a Tuesday. Subject line, opportunity, which is never a good sign. But this time it was real. He said the tenant in 4D had moved out suddenly and I could take it. Bigger windows, better light, same rent. I said yes before I even looked at it. Everything was fine, until I moved in and saw the mirror. It was bolted to the wall in the living room. Old, ornate, ugly, like something from a haunted estate sale. I asked if I could remove it, and the landlord said, casually, like it was nothing, "Just don't touch the mirror." That's when I knew. Something was going to be terribly wrong. I tried to ignore it, threw a blanket over it, like a dramatic Victorian widow. Problem solved, right? But every time I walked past, I felt it. That weird awareness, like I was being watched. It reflected the whole room, but the angles felt slightly off. Like the couch was too far left, or the lamp didn't quite line up. I thought maybe I was just tired, or maybe the mirror was warped, or maybe I was being overly dramatic. I do that. But then the reflection started acting weird. It happened late at night. I was brushing my teeth, walking back to the living room, and I glanced at the mirror. My reflection smiled. Before I did, like half a second early, just a blink. But I saw it. I stood there trying to recreate it. Smile. Wait. Nothing. I laughed it off. Told myself it was a trick of the light, a delay in my brain, a you need sleep moment. But that night, I left the blanket off. I wanted to catch it. I wanted proof. Big mistake. 3 days later, I came home from work and there was a sticky note stuck to the inside of the mirror. Let me be clear. It wasn't taped on the glass. It was behind the glass. Inside. In shaky black ink, it said, "Don't trust her." Who is her? I looked behind the mirror. Nothing. Just plaster and screws. I even checked the hallway to see if it was some weird prank. Nothing. I told myself it must have been left there before I moved in. Sure. Okay, that made sense. Kind of. Not really. Then came the shadow. One night I was walking across the room and I glanced at the mirror. And there was someone else standing behind me. Tall. Still. No face, just a shape. I spun around. Nothing. Empty room. Turned back to the mirror. Empty again. I didn't sleep that night, or the night after. I started leaving the lights on, talking out loud to whatever was in the apartment. It made me feel slightly less alone, which is funny because I was starting to think. I wasn't. I did what anyone does in a horror-adjacent situation. I Googled. Turns out, apartment 4D had been rented 6 times in 2 years. Every tenant moved out after just a few months. No one left reviews. One woman filed a noise complaint about breathing behind the walls. That's when I started keeping a notebook, tracking when the mirror did something strange. I felt like a detective. A very scared, underqualified detective. And then the notes got worse. Every day, a new sticky note would appear. Don't believe what she says. She's lying. Get out. Sometimes they were crumpled, torn, like there had been a struggle. I started wondering, was someone trapped in there? Or was it me? And then one night the note said, "You're not the first." I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I sat in front of the mirror for 6 hours, waiting for something to move, waiting for my reflection to do something wrong. And eventually it did. My reflection, stopped copying me. I moved. She didn't. I tilted my head. She stared straight ahead. Then she mouthed something. I couldn't hear it, but she repeated it over and over. Same motion, same rhythm. I recorded it. Slowed it down. tried to read her lips. I think she was saying, "Help me switch." After that, I covered the mirror again, this time with duct tape and blackout curtains. But the whispering didn't stop. I finally broke, picked up a hammer, took a swing at the mirror. It shattered, but not like glass. Behind it was a wall, or so I thought. The landlord called the police when I told him. They brought in tools, took down the wall behind the mirror. And behind that, a narrow corridor, sealed off, dusty full of wires, surveillance gear, and an old, crusted folding chair facing where the mirror had been. Someone had been watching, for years. They said it had been part of an old service hallway, forgotten. No cameras, no fingerprints, no leads. They asked if I wanted to press charges. Against who? I moved out the next morning. Now I avoid mirrors, especially the ones that seem too still, the ones that reflect too fast, the ones that might still be looking back. Because if there's one thing I learned in 4D, it's that sometimes when your reflection acts strange, it's not a glitch, it's a warning.